Wednesday's death of a couple in a car accident on Mabushi Bridge in the nation's capital, Abuja, allegedly caused by Touts, has sparked widespread outrage among residents. Many are calling on Abuja city authorities to take decisive action against Touts who have turned major roads into their hunting grounds. Well, joining us now for a discussion on the menace of Touts on Abuja roads and the unfortunate death of the family of four. Well, the numbers actually differ. It depends on where you're listening to. Now we're joined by Dr. Kennedy Iwundu. He's a former chairman, Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, CITN, Abuja District. And Frank Tietie is a lawyer and a Rise News analyst joining us tonight on Newsnight. Let me start with you, Frank Tietie. Agbero, I mean, if you live in Lagos, you do know what Agbero is, otherwise known as touts or louts here. I mean, now we're hearing that these people are agents of AMAC. Others say they're agents of NURTW, that's the Union of Road Transport Workers. But what do you think is responsible for this growing menace in Abuja, the seat of power?
I think the problem is simple and can be best described as failure, outright failure of governance. A situation where you elect an AMAC chairman, for example, and then he decides to outsource revenue collection to a band of non-state actors, ragtag, uneducated, untrained, outright criminals, to now have legitimate grounds to harass citizens in the streets of the FCT. It's outright failure of governance. But it extends down to the minister of the FCT. In fact, the caution has always been that, look, you are an outright failure as a political office holder if all you do is to award contracts and then commission projects when you have a cesspit and then a reign of lawlessness over the Federal Capital Territory. It's a big shame. I mean, it's something that we are so disappointed in. It doesn't matter what, how the lights look like in nighttime when the residents in Area 1, Area 2, or across the city feel so unsafe. And then when in broad daylight, you find that policemen, the members of the Department of Road Traffic Services just laze about, do nothing, and then non-state actors are running around, harassing, citizens because they want to extract, funds for them to give to their paymasters, their political paymasters, because the members of the Department of Road Traffic Services cannot collect such monies, or the members of the police cannot collect money, or when they collect such monies, they put only in their pocket. So this, this topsy-turvydom, this approach to governance where we turn things upside down is why we have witnessed, it's a constant factor in the FCT. Now, the mentality of lawlessness, whether among law enforcement agents, whether among officials of government, whether among citizens, it is in the FCT have recorded the highest number of traffic offenses, people who don't have any damn regard for traffic rules. It is simply because nobody cares, because what government cares about, those who run government care about, is actually how much goes into their pocket. And that's how we gradually go into a state of anarchy. Just imagine this kind of national embarrassment we have witnessed, a situation, broad daylight, where, say, a family will die because law enforcement agents choose to outsource, give up their responsibility to persons who just want to collect pittances. Yeah. Now, we need to, it is what we need to actually do is to call the government to order. It's the government who are holding responsible, not those touts, not those union persons who don't know anything, who actually exist only to exploit people and create confusion.
Yeah, I mean, you answered a legal question I was going to bring to you about who do we hold responsible. I mean, if the government do know about this people. But let me bring in Dr. Iwundu into this conversation. It is not the first time we've seen touts harassing Nigerians or particularly FCT residents. But the outrage now is that a family had to lose their lives because of their actions. You are the taxman. How is it that Nigerians pay tax to the government and then they end up paying tax to touts on the road? Isn't it ironic?
Thank you very much. The fact remains that the local government are being given more than 21 taxes, levies, and rates to collect. The states also collect more than 21 taxes, levies, and rates. So what we are proposing is for government to have another tax reform where the National Assembly will amend the number of taxes and levies collected by local government and the state. We want to see a situation whereby the constitution will be amended where the local government will cease to collect 21 taxes and levies, and maybe 2. We can say local government collect tenement rates and development levy. We also say state collect payee, personal income tax and development levy, or possibly they can also collect ground rent. So when you limit the number of taxes these local government and states are collecting to like 2 or 3, you can now bring in professionals. We have a lot of professionals. We have people from the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, trained people. We have Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. We have Association of National Accountants of Nigeria. You can make a law to say it's only trained professionals in the area of taxation that will be involved.
Dr. Iwundu, I hate to interrupt, but my question really is, I mean, do you have to go to the road? Do you have to employ touts to collect those taxation for you at the local government level?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We must have an institutional mechanism to stop that. And the institutional mechanism we are going to put in place is to make a law that is only tax professionals that will be involved in tax collection. So if you don't do that, the tax will be there. We need to make a law where you only allow tax professionals to be involved in collection and assessment of taxes at local government areas, and also in collection and assessment of taxes at the state level. So if you don't bring such law in place and enforce it, you will continue to see touts involved in tax collection. The tax has no business involved in assessment and collection of tax. It should be left for professionals. So what we are saying is that, first of all, government should make a law to limit the number of taxes and levies collected by the state government as well as the local government, and at the same time, bring a law to criminalize touts in the collection of these taxes and levies, thereby allowing accredited tax agents who are professional tax professionals to involve in this assessment and collection. If you don't do that, these kind of incidents will continue to happen.
Frank Tietie, I mean, you heard him there say there's a need for tax reform at the local government's level. But I'm more concerned, of course you can respond to that, I'm more concerned about the fact that there's jungle justice, happening now. It looks like what you describe as bad governance or lack of it, is having a domino effect where one bad behavior is leading to, real tragic situations where a whole family has lost their lives. Let's talk about all of this. How can we begin to, number one, address the issue of tax reform at the local government level, address the issue of jungle justice, and, all we're seeing from this incident?
I think it's very offensive to be talking about taxation here.
Right.
When people, were the couple asked to pay a certain tax and then they were running away. The facts that are there of public knowledge is that they said they parked wrongfully. And if that happened, what did we have all those persons wearing white and black called members of the Department of Road Traffic Service? What they do? Don't they issue tickets and then people, don't they expect the Nigerians will be orderly enough to go and pay whatever fines that they have? At this stage and in this age where the world seems to have left us behind, we're still talking about Stone Age mentality of holding down vehicles by with physical hands so that people can pay money. What kind of thing is that? Why do you talk about tax when people are dead? When we have a government in place that actually. When you look at AMAC, for example, and you say it has a legislative council, and what it does most of the time is to simply churn out new forms of bylaws and whatever, just to collect money, and then without any commensurate responsibility to show that, look, you collect money to improve the life of people. Look, governance is about order. Governance is about protection, about security. You're not making life hard for people, and you're talking about taxes. So even if you're talking about taxes here, who should collect taxes? So why do we have all this number of employees in government, institutions, and then what you find is to go and import, touts from Lagos State and all over the place. People who didn't go to school, people who didn't try to formalize themselves or get in shape to live a responsible life. And those are the people you now subject responsible people who spend the rest of their lives to comply to laws. You now subject those persons to be punished, to be harassed by all of these elements. Look, we don't appear to be a serious people, and that's the reason why we have always been bedeviled by insecurity that seems to be intractable. No, we shouldn't be talking about taxes here. We should, and then governance should first of all realize its responsibility of providing welfare. This is is not welfare. When you talk about taxes, it is welfare when you guarantee the people that their rights will always at all times be respected. And every other time, when you collect money, there is a commensurate expression that like there is an improvement. In FCT, as we have it today, apart from, you know, political statements going on with all sort of things, you know, grandstanding allowed, we know we live here. We know that the quality of life here is low.
Can this couple get justice? Who will give them justice? Who will give them justice?
No, see, it's not a question of justice. Right. You will use the federal government, the government of the Federal Capital Territory Administration to show example, or AMAC, combine all, including the police, combine all of them, take them to the appropriate legal forum and let them pay serious compensation. It has happened before. We have a number of cases where the Nigerian state is held responsible for the crass irresponsibility and negligence of state actors, as we have seen here in the FCT, because the police failed, because the Department of Road Traffic Services officers failed, because the law enforcement community failed in the afternoon in the FCT, which is the seat of power, the barometer where you can measure whether life is good in Nigeria. Because of that crass failure and negligence, before we go to court, let the minister of the FCT proceed on his own to go and compensate them adequately. This is irresponsible and this is wrong. So the example will have to be shown of the federal government in this matter, so that we don't have to have this kind of thing repeating itself.
Okay, I do. I'm sure Mr. Tietie is not asking why we have invited a tax person to speak on this matter, because from the report we have gathered, there are different accounts to this story. Some say they imposed the levy on the family, they refused to pay. One or two of the Touts jumped into the vehicle and dragged the steering with the person driving, and the accident happened. Others have said, including the spokesperson for the police in FCT, says they might be, you know, members of AMAC, which is a
even though AMAC has actually distanced itself from
then
this
you also had a respondent that spoke to our correspondent to say they might also be members of the NURTW. So bottom line, there was some sort of money, taxation, levy, whatever name you want to call it, that you know led to this unfortunate incident. And so, Dr. Iwundu, you were very invited to speak on that aspect of the conversation. And so let me ask you, because some say, you know, unemployment, apart from weak governance and lack of accountability, is responsible for the touting we see in our society. As someone who has dealt with taxation, revenue generation, where does all of this money go? Because we see these people, whether it's in Abuja or it's in Lagos or any part of the country, there are reports that there's a reporting system. They deliver these monies to people. Is this something your association, as Chartered Institute of Taxation, is this something you have seen? Is this something you're concerned about or you have raised alarm about in the past?
Thank you very much. I've said it before that touting in terms of revenue collection should be criminalized. If we criminalize touting, this kind of incident will not happen, because you won't see touts coming to the street or coming to the road to drag vehicle with people. What we are saying here is that there should be, people should have taxpayers' identification number. If you have taxes and levies, you have stipulated that people should collect. You have to get professionals, educated people that should know how to do the assessment and collection. And this is the only way you can keep touts out of the collection. And I want to say it there that most of these touts, the money they collect doesn't go to government. So we want a tax collection where whatever they collect goes to government. Most of the money they are collecting on behalf of AMAC, other local government across the country, doesn't really go to the government coffers. So at the end of the day, you ask yourself, what are they collecting this money for, and who are they accounting the money to? When you reform the taxes and levies, especially at the local government level and at the state level, you bring it a institutional framework where both the collection, the assessment, and the remittance will be done by professionals. And government will get the money, and the money will be accountable. And at the same time, we are going to render those services to the people. But as it is, there are so many touts all over the place collecting one levy or fine or rate. And it's not just in Abuja alone. If you travel across the country, it's all over the place. If you travel, some vehicles will move from part of the north. Before they get to the south, you see some people welding heavy stick with nails across the state. You pass them in Kogi State, you pass them in Benue, all over. So sometimes it is even increase the cost of the services or cost of items people are buying, because at every local government you pass, you see those touts stopping you, and some of them are looking very haggard that you'll be afraid. If you don't pay that money, you may be in trouble. So government need to, I think it's a failure of governance. The government at all levels, both the federal, the state, and local government, need to come together and see a way this touting can be. They can be found another job to do. Touting in the revenue collection shouldn't be the only thing. So they can decide to get another job for them to do, not necessarily harassing people on the road.
Yes, Frank Tietie, you have the last word. Should these touts be brought under some kind of regulatory body? Because there are indications that they actually work in concert with both licensed and unlicensed agents. How do you fix this problem sustainably?
So why should we be talking about touts? Why? Why should we invest so much in formalizing a country? I mean, you know, the employment sector, and then we still talk about touts. But, you know, the idea you see,
touts, aren't they a symptom of a deeper disease?
Of course, and
they themselves are victims.
The political class in our country thrives, you know, to a large extent in disorder, because if you were to follow what the respected tax gentleman is talking about, monies will not enter pockets that are unaccounted for. So you have to create something outside within the formal sector, and that is why you bring these persons who are lawless, who are actually outside the purview of the law. And so that's the reason why we expect those who operate government to be punished, especially on this particular occasion. The Federal Capital Territory Administration must be held accountable. I look forward so quickly to see that every one of them, and the government itself, whether it's an impersonal or the minister himself, be held accountable for this crass negligence. Now, why? The reason is this. We don't have to have taxes, touts, and to think, and I can say this as a witness, for the past 10 years, that we've had a regime of all of these criminals who have been, you know, euphemized as touts, running our streets in this city, not being held, you know, to account. I have experienced a situation where they are even giving police protection. They are even giving one sort of cover or the other, because the chairman is interested in the money. He's interested in the money that comes to him. So what kind of thing is that? So look, we have to wake up and realize that we want to run the country and get serious about it, and then let's set the standards and follow them. All
right, Dr. Kennedy Iwundu is a former chairman, Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, CITN, Abuja District. Frank Tietie, lawyer and a Rise News analyst. Thank you, both of you gentlemen, for joining us on Newsnight.